Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach and today I'm driving a 2018 Mazda 3. Up front is a 2.5 liter inline 4 and down below is a 5-speed automatic transmission. And if you want to read more of my thoughts, head on over to carmarshal.com/overdrive where I'll be writing a complete article about the Mazda 3. But let's get back to that 2.5 liter. Well, it's actually the same 2.5 liter that comes in the CX-5. If you guys haven't seen it, I actually reviewed a CX-5 pretty recently. And so, since the Mazda 3 is a much smaller car, the 2.5 liter actually, it makes it a little zippy car. So this is a Sky Active engine, which is Mazda's newer, more efficient engine, which is really nice. The power delivery is great. It's somewhere around the 150s in the Mazda 3, which isn't bad. And there's really no complaints here. What I do like is, like the CX-5, you can move the shifter over into manual mode, put it into sport mode, and then I can shift down here, or I could shift on the paddles behind the steering wheel. The CX-5 does not get the paddles. Now, this car is front-wheel drive, which is fine by me. I don't really mind front-wheel drive in economy cars. If it's an enthusiast car, something I'm going to want to take, down a twisty road, I'm going to prefer rear-wheel drive. But this is not a car that's really built for doing that sort of stuff. Also, like the CX-5, this car actually has a button underneath the gas pedal. So you push the gas pedal all the way, and then you hit it again, and you feel a little clunk, and then you're really on your way. So, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have one center-mounted tachometer, which I love. I think that makes cars feel so much more sporty when they have a center-mounted tachometer, mainly because it makes me think of RX-7s. To the right, I have a little screen that can tell me a bunch of different information. Right now, we're on MPG, current MPG, average miles per hour, range, and then cycles back. To the left, I have another screen that just shows me what gear I'm in and the odometer of the car. Up above the gauges, I actually get a heads-up display, which can be adjusted through the infotainment center. We'll get to that in a second. But it's sort of gimmicky. It's actually like it's a little projector and like a little piece of plastic. It doesn't actually project onto the windshield like a lot of other cars. It's a little gimmicky. I don't really see myself using it all that much. Alright, I just found out that little beep, it just said brake on the heads-up display. I guess it saw someone, I was approaching someone. They were turning, but I was approaching someone, and it just told me to brake. That was weird. On the steering wheel, you get volume controls, info that's going to change your little screen up on the gauges, and then you actually get radar cruise control. So if you haven't seen my CX-5 review, that's where I fully tested because I drove that car on the highway. Basically what you do is, if you notice up front, the Mazda logo looks a little strange. That's because that's actually for the radar cruise control. You can set a following distance here and then a maximum speed. So if someone speeds up in front of you or slows down in front of you, the car is going to mimic that and follow that. The nice thing about it is that when you set a max speed, you max out at 70. So if someone's in front of you sitting at 65 or whatever, and for whatever reason they floor it, they gun it, they get it up to 90, the car is only going to chase that car up to 70 miles an hour or whatever you set it at. I think that's a really nice feature because then you know, as long as you set it below the speed limit or just barely over the speed limit, you can assure yourself that you're not going to get a speeding ticket. And if that person in front of you then gets over, your car will speed up to that set limit and just sit there. Over to the left, I have traction control off, lane assist off, and the tire pressure warning system settings. Now, we all know what traction control, lane assist, and tire pressure settings are. That's no big deal. What I don't like about that is that they're so oddly spaced. And from what I'm told, this is the highest trim level, the Grand Touring I. And I still have 3 dead switches over here. And not only are they 3 dead switches, the buttons are off center. Like, there's 2 on the top row and 1 on the bottom row. There's 6 buttons. And so it just looks weird. And like, this obviously isn't a deal breaker, but I hate top trim cars that still have dead buttons. Like, why? Then to the right, we have the infotainment center, which honestly isn't the best, but Mazda is getting Apple CarPlay later this year, so we'll talk about that with the CX-5 once we get that. But for now, it does navigation, it does entertainment. You can Bluetooth satellite radio, everything you need you can get through here. It's just a little rudimentary, it's a little basic, it's not all that flashy. It works for sure, but it's not the best system ever. But like I said, it's gonna get updated, so who cares? Down below that, 2 heating and cooling vents. Then your heating and air conditioning controls, which this does have dual climate, so the passenger can set a different temperature than the driver. I think it's a really nice feature. Then down below all of that, there's actually a USB input, an SD card. I assume that's going to be for the maps, and then an aux input, which is super, super nice. If you do have an older phone or you just prefer an aux cord, you can actually aux into this. Then you get your shifter, sport button, like we talked about earlier. There's an electronic parking brake, which I'm not a fan of, but at least you have it. And then you have your controls for the infotainment center. It's a big dial. This is how you select it. The infotainment is touchscreen when you're stopped, but while you're driving, you can actually use the dial and buttons. Then we have 2 cup holders, which are hidden away by a sort of garage door that it's not flat. It actually comes up like that, which is, I think, a really cool feature. Definitely does a nice job of hiding the cup holders, and it's really nice. It's a really nice feel. The seats I have no complaints about, although they are heated, as well as you get a heated steering wheel. And of course, this car does have a sunroof. The only thing I don't like is that you press it one time to open it, like most other sunroofs, that's fine, but hit it one time to close it, you have to hold it. Not the biggest thing, obviously not a deal breaker, but it's a little annoying to sit there and hold it when backwards is automatic but not forwards again. Speaking of automatic, you get a driver's automatic window, and that's it. All the rest of the ones, not that they're not power windows, but you have to hold the switch like a plebeian. Then of course this is a hatchback. We will talk about the hatch in a second, but I feel like the real reason you buy a hatchback is for rear headroom. Alright, so now we are in the back seat of the Mazda 3 hatchback. I do have a center console, 2 cup holders, but that's it. I don't have any climate controls back here, not even any vents, so you're really going to be relying on the people in front of you for that. Nothing on the back of the center console. You do get a pocket over here, but not a pocket over here. So if you guys remember my 2010 Mazda 3 review, I thought that was weird. It was thus explained to me that if you're the driver, you could reach behind this seat and put stuff in and out of, but not this one. Makes sense. It's just weird. I don't know why they didn't put one here, but oh well. Headroom is good. So, because it's a hatchback, I'm 5'11", and I still got that much up ahead of me, so even if we hit a bump, we're good. So, it's actually a really nice back seat. I wish it had climate controls, but not all back seats do, and that's okay. Now, getting back to it, let's talk about the hatch. Well, it's pretty sizable. It's not going to be crazy. It's not a station wagon size, but it's not the smallest thing in the world. You could definitely get bigger objects in here than in the regular 4-door sedan. Surprisingly, though, the key fob does not have a power tailgate option. This tailgate is not powered. I thought it really would. The CX-5 has it, but unfortunately the 3 does not. One thing I really, really do like about this Mazda 3 is the looks. I think this is one of the best looking Mazda 3s out there. One of the best looking generations, that is. I definitely like the front end, and I really like how the hazard lights or the flashers are down below. So when you click the remote button, it actually flashes down below, and I think that's really nice. I don't know why. I don't know why that's better than up in the headlights. I just think it's a really cool touch. It makes the car look more aggressive. So I reviewed a 2010 somewhat recently, and I have to say this Mazda 3 is worlds better than the 2010 one. The 2010 one felt like a cheap economy car, and essentially it was. At the time, Ford still had the controlling share in Mazda, and they just wanted to produce cheap cars, and they did. But this, just the overall quality of this car, the leathers in here, like, it sounds stupid, but this little trap door thing for the cup holders actually really makes it feel nicer. I have a leather wrapped steering wheel. The gauges are very easy to read, all white lights that make it seem fresh, unlike the 370Z I reviewed that everything's amber. That car is a 2017 and it felt dated. Really, really nice, really high quality. Mazda has really stepped up their game in the last 8 years. This car also has push to start, so the key fob, you just keep in your pocket, and the nice thing about that is you could just walk up to the car, hit the button on the door, and it'll unlock. You don't have to pull anything out of your pocket, which is nice, because if your hands are full, obviously you can't do that. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys learned something about the 2018 Mazda 3. If you want to read more of my thoughts, head on over to carmarshal.com/overdrive. But again, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.
Here goes a sight from my soul.